What is going on, New York Giants fans? D. Illa here. Well, it's week number 2, but we ended up with the same results as week number 1. We fall to the Washington Commanders 21-18 in Landover, Maryland. I'm not going to come out here and play the blame game and talk about what we should have done, try to analyze this, break down that. You know, this is just a bad team, man. And that's really what it all boils down to. This is a bad football team. And there was a lot of us New York Giants content creators that came out here and tried to really bring the issues to the forefront. Now, some people wanted to listen, some people didn't want to listen. And now the people that didn't want to listen, they're kind of surprised by the results that they've seen over the past 2 weeks. And all I can really tell you is, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You know, we saw Aaron Jones come out week 1 and run all over this football team for 94 yards. And then a good solid running back like Brian Robinson. I'm not taking anything away from him because he is a good solid back. And Austin Ekeler, I think, proved to some people that, you know, he still does have something left in the tank. He looked pretty explosive out there on the field, especially when he was catching the ball from coming out of the backfield, especially on some of those, you know, third and longs that were presented to the Washington Commanders. But, you know, Brian Robinson, he's a good, solid running back. He has been for the past, 2 seasons in this league, or maybe 3 seasons at this point. But he's a tough guy to stop. But, again, our edges just couldn't step up to the plate and hold the edge. And Brian Robinson Jr. took big-time advantage of that throughout the game. And at times, you know, we would bring the pressure on Jayden Daniels, and he would escape out of the pocket, and we didn't have any answer for that. As far as the passing game goes for Washington, it wasn't Terry McLaurin that hurt us. You know, it was Noah Brown who had, 4 catches for 54 yards. And old-timer Zach Ertz, man, killed us for over 60 yards on 4 catches. The secondary continues to be a big-time issue. And I know a lot of people were pretty thrilled when we brought Adoree Jackson back to this football team to play that number 2 corner. But he really hasn't solved any of the issues that this secondary has. Now, this team just has so many problems all the way across the board. And now you're starting to look at moves right now, like the Brian Burns move. You look at 2 straight games in a row where he was a complete non-factor, really didn't do anything for us. And we spent over $130 million for this guy, man. $130 million. And this was a team that was really trying to get their cap situation under control. And they were kind of going in that direction before they made that move. Now, we were kind of quiet during free agency, and, you know, we were, probably a good, 3 to 4 hours into free agency, if not longer, and Joe Schoen really hadn't made any moves. And I was very happy with the fact that he didn't make any big splashes at that point. And then all of a sudden, the Brian Burns deal took place. And, you know, a lot of fans were extremely excited by this move. They thought that Brian Burns could add a lot to this team that had a defensive line that consisted of, you know, Kayvon Thibodeaux and Dexter Lawrence. And Dexter Lawrence, a guy yesterday, no sacks. Maybe he may have had a couple QB pressures, but, man, you're paying this guy over $90 million over 4 years to come out there and really make a difference. Sure, he eats up double teams, man, but we need him to come out there and make an impact against the Washington Commanders. He has to come out there and make a big-time impact against the Minnesota Vikings. He had a pretty decent game against the Vikings, but still, man, are you getting $90 million worth of production out of a guy like Dexter Lawrence right now? And this is why I made that video in the offseason about us potentially trading Dexter Lawrence. We're not doing anything with one player right now, man. We need multiple players. And I'm telling you right now, if you could strike a deal to move Dexter Lawrence to obtain multiple assets for this football team, considering the position that we're in right now, you do that shit in the drop of a hat. And you clear his money off the books. Especially after you spent $130 million on a guy that ain't doing jack shit for your football team right now. In Brian Burns. And Kayvon Thibodeaux ain't doing any better. And you can say he came out and played a better game yesterday, which he did. But again, man, it's the Commanders. This was Bobby Johnson's offensive line that everybody said, you know, Bobby Johnson, that everybody talked about him being an issue about how this offensive line couldn't develop. And you just went up against him yesterday, and he led his football team to a victory. Meanwhile, the team that he used to coach is walking away with the loss. This team just sucks, man. This team sucks ass from top to bottom. And I'm getting tired of coming out here making these damn videos saying the same freaking thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over. How many times can I do this about the New York Giants? How many times can all of us do this about the New York Giants before it gets better? Things aren't going to get better until that draft next year when we bring that quarterback in. That's when the whole entire process really begins, when we bring in that quarterback. And I'm not blaming DJ for anything yesterday. DJ played halfway decent. DJ played pretty well. You know, arguably if Malik didn't drop that football, you know, we may have won that game. But I'm not going to sit here and blame Malik Neighbors. You know, he's a pillar of this football team. He is a guy that we're going to build off of. If Malik Neighbors didn't do what he did in that football game, we wouldn't even have had a chance to win it to begin with. Devin Singletary, another guy. He fumbled. Okay, so what? You know, he put up, 94 yards on the ground. He was instrumental to the success that team had yesterday. He made a mistake. We lost the game. It is what it is. In the long run, it's probably going to benefit us. This is kind of like that Philly game last year when the refs were when a lot of people were bitching about the refs and how they cost us the game against Philadelphia last year. And I was like, well, man, those refs, they did us an absolute favor because in the long run, it was gonna help us in the end. But you know, it didn't help us in the end because we didn't end up drafting a quarterback. So it was all for naught. But I believe at the end of this season, what took place yesterday is going to help us in the end because it's going to get us that much closer to getting this team its franchise quarterback. And that is the ultimate goal of this season. That was the ultimate goal from the start of the season because this team doesn't have a franchise quarterback. This team doesn't have a franchise a lot of things. And we need all the talent on this football team we can possibly get. So, again, I talk about last year. I talk about the draft this past year and the players that we drafted. Even though Drew Phillips has looked good, Tyler Nubin has made his contributions here and there. But you didn't need these guys right now, man. You really didn't need these guys right now because we all knew what this season was going to be. You could have held tight on those positions and drafted them next year. You should have gone after the best damn talent that draft had to offer in 2024. But instead, you drafted fucking need picks. And that's exactly why this team is sitting in the position that we're in right now. Now, is Tyler Nubin and Andrew Phillips going to help this team down the road? Sure, it's probably going to help them. Most likely. That's what they're brought here to do, help this football team. But did they have to be brought into this team right now? And who's to say there's not better players in that draft we could potentially take next year as opposed to taking them this year? And that's why I was complaining about us not drafting a guy like a Donnie Mitchell. And we took Tyler Nubin. I'm still pissed off about that. And I know people are looking at Donnie Mitchell's stats out there and they're like, well, he's not doing very much. Well, Anthony Richardson really isn't helping him out very much because there's been plenty of times where Donnie Mitchell has been sitting wide open and Anthony Richardson has just flat out missed him. You know, Donnie Mitchell could be putting up some serious numbers right now if you had a quarterback that could put the damn ball right on him. But, you know, I didn't even make a pregame video for this game because, again, it was a toss-up game, just like I thought the Minnesota Vikings game was. I couldn't tell you who was going to win it. Either team could have walked out with a victory. They were pretty evenly matched the entire game. You know, two bottom-of-the-barrel football teams in the NFL. That's what was showcased there yesterday. But the difference between the Commanders and us is they have their quarterback. They have their building block, that main piece. And they'll continue to build around them. And I made a video in the offseason talking about how the Washington Commanders were going to put us firmly in the basement for many, many years to come. And yesterday was just the start of that. Sad to say. But hey, it's the cold hard truth. That's it for the video, man. I'm disappointed just like everybody else. Y'all take it easy. Have a good day. And we'll see what happens when we go up against Cleveland this Sunday coming up. But I'm not expecting much more. I'm really not. Even though Cleveland's got a good solid defense. It's going to be tough for this offense to really get anything going. And offensively, you know, they continue to struggle. But, you know, I'm not going to come out here and say we're going to beat the Cleveland Browns. No chance in hell. But that's it, y'all. Take it easy. Have a good day. Take care. Bye.